Come on then, lovelies, it's lunchtime.
No thanks, I don't eat raw meat.
It's not for you, you fool. Look at these amazing lions. There we are. That is for you. Aren't they magnificent?
They are spectacular. 2 boys, 9 lionesses. Quite a pride here in this part of the park.
It really is. And you can imagine what an appetite they have. And this is just chunks. Can you imagine what it's like seeing them eat on a carcass? And that is exactly what's going to happen later today. But here's what else is coming up on today's programme. Alarm in Koala Creek as Violet takes a turn for the worse.
You get that knot in your tummy where you just think, oh my goodness, there's something not right here.
Can ageing legendary rock star iguana Iggy Pop survive a health crisis?
Anaesthetic death is the highest risk.
And why these gentle giants should be given a wide berth.
They could kick a lion and potentially kill it. Steady.
In Koala Creek, there's bad news. Just weeks after the arrival of the 5 southern koalas from Australia, kidney disease claimed the life of Wilpina.
It's really apparent that her kidneys were not functioning at all. Unfortunately, we did make the decision that the kindest thing for her would be to put her to sleep.
And now there are fears that Violet, one of the 3 surviving females, could have the same potentially fatal problem. Every day, vigilant keepers take urine samples to safeguard these precious and vulnerable newcomers. But Violet's tests are worrying. And the tragedy of Wilpina haunts head of animal adventure Graham.
That was really hard, and that was the first time we'd had a koala pass away on us. So to have another one showing the exact same symptoms and the same problems as Wilpina, you've always got that gut-wrenching feeling that, God, if she doesn't make it, then what?
Violet's also got breathing problems. She's losing weight. Everyone in Koala Creek is anxious, including team manager Kat.
You get that knot in your tummy where you just think, oh my goodness, there's something not right here, and we need to figure out why. So even though the keepers put on a really, really brave face, they're probably very nervous inside. They want to get it sorted.
And now, to make matters worse for keeper James, who spent 3 months learning how to care for Violet in Australia, she's sneezing.
Bless you. Bless you. You all right? You all right, miss? Hey?
I'm very much aware of what could happen, and I'd be lying if it didn't hit a nerve. You have to try your best when an animal becomes a little ill to take a step away and to try and analyse the animal as you see it on that day.
Her symptoms are so serious, she's in isolation in the koala hospital. The vet's been called, and Kate is on her way to meet him.
So the issue here is, or the worry, I suppose, here, is that Violet has got the same condition that Wilpina had, and it's going to progress in the same way with the same outcome. What's your feeling seeing her compared to Wilpina?
I think, quite rightly, the guys have jumped on the fact that they've seen some sediment in the urine.
Right.
So it looks a little bit like sugar.
OK.
And we know that oxalate nephrosis, which basically causes renal failure, is a big issue, likely to have a genetic link, and we've obviously been on the rough end of that with Wilpina.
Yeah.
So we started a course of treatment, the mainstay of which is fluid. We have looked at urine samples daily, and she's concentrating her urine,
Right.
which means her kidney function actually is pretty good.
Okay.
And we've used some dipsticks to look for blood and various other bits and pieces, which has all come back negative. And what I've done is been looking at the urine and looking at the crystals to try and decide what sort of crystals they are.
Yeah.
Can you just see as I rotate it?
Oh, yeah, you can. It does exactly look like sugar that hasn't dissolved properly.
They don't look like the dangerous oxalate nephrosis crystals.
That's fantastic news.
It is. It's a fingers crossed moment. So I'm going to give some more fluids today. This is the 3rd day we've done it.
Right.
Not overly happy about it.
OK.
Understandably.
But to make this less of an ordeal, Violet will be in the familiar and reassuring arms of James.
Right, is there anything I can do usefully?
Yeah, just ever so slightly restrain her back legs if possible.
Okay.
These life-saving fluids should flush out Violet's system and hopefully put her on the path to recovery.
It's a nice, quick way of getting a lot of fluid in. So we're going to give, hopefully, 150 mils. That's what she's had the last 2 days.
Gosh, that's a lot.
It's a good volume, yeah. And it's obviously making a difference. She doesn't like it at all.
Okay.
But hopefully this is your last day.
Okay.
Okay.
Good girl. Good girl. There we go. I know. I've got you. Good girl. Good girl. Oh, grumpy noise, I know.
Koalas carry very little fat, which means this procedure will be far from comfortable.
I know, Puppet.
They
I've got
don't
you,
have
Puppet.
a lot of spare skin.
I know. Good girl, be brave. I've got you. I know. Shh. There we go.
I know this isn't nice.
I know. All right, Puppet. Good girl. I know.
How's this sneeze? All right.
All right. All right.
All right, that's it.
Happy?
Yeah, happy. Pop her back, let her keep eating.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
There you go.
Go, miss. Let's put you back with some
Your
food.
way. Oh, Violet, well, you don't look too worse for wear. Well, hopefully, as Chris said, maybe in the next sort of 2 or 3 days, you'll see a real improvement.
Fingers crossed.
You'll
Fingers
keep us
crossed.
posted, won't you?
We will
of
indeed.
course, because the whole nation is rooting for you, Violet. Aren't they? Good girl.
We certainly are. And we'll be keeping a close eye on Violet throughout the series.
There are some amazing animals here in the park. But while the big boys can pack a mean punch, there's a little chap with a suit of armour that makes him one of the best warriors in the wild. Jean's off to meet him and keeper James.
I've come to see Hansel, our 3-banded armadillo. James, he's like my little knight in shining armour. Do you mind if I go and pick him up? Is that okay?
Please be my guest. Yeah, go for it.
We can have a closer look at this fabulous armour. So pick him up like this and just hold him round.
Excellent.
Oh,
There we go.
so amazing looking, isn't he?
Incredible animals. Completely ancient, weird-looking things.
They are very unique and impenetrable.
Pretty much, yeah. There's actually stories of people shooting armadillos.
I have
and
heard that.
Bullets ricocheting.
Our special cameraman Mark's over here, so I can give you a look at him close up. We're going to get really close now. Have a look at that armour. Oh, it reminds me of a tortoise shell.
Yeah, so it's referred to as a carapace, just the same as a tortoise. But yeah, they have over 2,000 of these little tiny scoots. And scoots are made of, the whole carapace as a whole is made of a bit of bone as well as a protein like keratin.
It's a bit like our nails
bit
on
like
humans.
fingernails, yeah, just a little bit tougher.
And if I turn him round a little bit, he's quite hairy, hairier than you would expect.
Armadillos have one of the lowest body temperatures of any mammal. So they need all that hair just to keep them a little bit insulated. But because they have such a low body temperature, it also means that they are the only animals, apart from us, that can contract leprosy.
You're so full of interesting facts, James, that these guys can contract leprosy.
Yeah, so I'm great fun at parties. But yeah, they can contract leprosy. Now, leprosy didn't evolve in South America at all. So that was brought over by Europeans when they first started colonising, yeah. And sadly, yeah, armadillos now are a carrier of leprosy in the wild. So Hansel's fine.
It's been absolutely fascinating to see them this close. Totally impenetrable. I mean, with such an amazing design, I take it they've got quite long lifespans.
Yeah, so the oldest one in the world reached its 27th birthday. It looks pretty raggedy for it, but they can live that for that long.
Oh, well, that's great news, because it means every time I come back to the park, I'm going to be visiting him for years to come.
I don't blame you.
As the summer sun begins to warm the Wiltshire Plains, in the safari park, it's time for an exciting seasonal debut, overseen by keeper Darren.
So today we're going to be taking the giraffe down to the park for the first time since they've been up here since winter. So it's a very exciting day for these guys.
The park has 17 Rothschild giraffe. In Uganda, where 60% of their wild relatives live, temperatures reach a blissful 29 degrees. A Wiltshire winter can get down to -7. After overwintering in their super-size heated home and adjacent paddock, you'd think they'd be longing to get out into the spacious safari. But these gentle giants are notoriously nervy.
They are very skittish, so they're very inquisitive, but when they find out what's going on, they tend to run away from it. So when they go down the race, there is a potential that something may spook them and they'll want to come running back up this way as opposed to down into the park.
In the wild, giraffe are prey animals, the perfect snack for hungry lions. And even though they live here in the safe sanctuary of Wiltshire, the herd's natural instincts are in overdrive for fear of predators. As they leave their snug winter quarters, they must go down the 200-metre-long, terrifying race. A gently sloping path towards the dangerous Wiltshire savannah. A lovely grassy meadow. The 1-ton bull will take the lead on this perilous voyage.
Yeah, big man. Thorn, our big male, he's the most confident one. He'll be going out first. He should head straight to the race and these guys will follow down.
No sudden movements, anyone.
Good to go for the girls, George.
It may look like a gentle summer stroll, but at nearly 6 metres tall, these giants can kick off at the slightest thing.
They're very powerful. I mean, these guys in the wild, they could potentially, if lions were attacking them, they could kick a lion and potentially kill it. So they are very powerful in that respect.
So best to keep things nice and calm.
Although they're very, very big, they're very, very agile, and they can turn and change direction pretty quick, and they can get up to sort of the 30, 35 mile an hour mark. Good girls.
Darren seems to have things under control. Until the group start pegging it for open space, and one of the youngsters makes a Yui.
Hey.
3 of the group make a break to head back to their familiar winter residence.
Let's push these down, but just keep an eye. Radio Ryan. Girls, move up, come on, shows.
Using a long stick to guide them, Darren gets the rest of the girls into the safari before tackling the stragglers.
Steady. Steady, go.
It could be that this trio is displaying prey behaviour deep in their DNA to stay out of trouble.
Oh, are we running? OK, I'll just slowly toddle on behind you then, shall I? Gertie, come on.
And wise 13-year-old Gertie knows exactly what she's doing.
Gertie's very intelligent. I think she was a case of letting everybody else run around, go and check it out, and then I'll just follow on afterwards when I know it's safe. Good girl, Gerts. Hey, good girl, Gerts.
Well done, folks.
I think all in all, it went really well. There was a few of them that were quite skittish. They decided to have a little bit of a run around. But in general, I would say that went as well as it could do.
The giraffe's nerves are intact. There are only vegetarians in this savannah, and Darren lives to run the race another day. In fact, every day till winter comes back around.
When you get to move 17 giraffe up and down there, you kind of go, my job's better than yours sometimes when you get to see do things like that.
Iguana Iggy Pop, one of the park's biggest stars, is in trouble.
Iggy here, unfortunately, he's got a split to his tail. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a little look at it.
A wound on his tail isn't healing, and this rock star, thought to be at least 22 years old, is in danger of developing a life-threatening infection.
Unfortunately, the tip of the tail is actually exposed, so I can see that it does actually look quite raw, and you can see that there's no kind of new flesh kind of coming through.
If an infection sets in, it could race through his body. In the wild, iguana shed their tails and grow another, but Iggy's is showing no sign of regrowth, and Kat fears the worst.
We may have to think about surgery. We have given it a good week of soaking and kind of scrubbing and TLC to try and encourage that new growth, and there's just, unfortunately, there's just nothing more we can do apart from making that decision to put them under.
This old trooper has survived twice as long as an iguana in the wild. But going to the vet could be one step too far for Iggy, who's already battled arthritis, mouth ulcers, and chest surgery.
With older animals going under anaesthetic, it can be really difficult at times for them to come back out.
Someone who dreads the prospect of losing Iggy is keeper Emily, who's getting a recovery ward ready for him in the hope he makes it through.
Iggy Pop is an animal that I've worked with since my very first day here 10 years ago, and I've absolutely just adored him ever since. I've got so many photos of Iggy Pop and myself. I've got them on my wall at home in my front room, along with my family members. If he wasn't here anymore, it would be heartbreaking. Pops is always going to be right at the top, and yeah, taking my heart, really. You make me cry now.
When you have an animal that you're trying to help, you want to become like Dr. Dolittle. You want to be able to talk to them and say, I'm just trying to help.
Emily has the unenviable task of taking her beloved Iggy to the vet.
He doesn't look very sure, does he? I'm feeling quite nervous. The worst case scenario is that he doesn't wake up from the anaesthetic. As awful as it sounds, probably we've done our best and this was just his time. It's going to be devastating, but he will have had a great life with us.
Can the old soldier Iggy survive surgery one more time?
Jean's on a mercy mission with lead keeper Leia to relieve 10 park residents before they get the hump from a nasty summer itch.
It's got really hot really quickly,
Yeah.
and so the camels have still got their winter coat on, gets a little bit sweaty under there, and it can cause them a really itchy kind of eczema. So we're just going to help them along a little bit while we've got 5 minutes spare.
Eczema and camels?
Yeah, and it's just literally, they just get so hot. Their coats are such good insulators through the winter, and then obviously it takes them a little while to shed them, and because the weather's just turned so quickly, it's absolutely beautiful, and they're just getting a bit sweaty.
So how can I help by taking off some of this old hair? That'll help with
I'll
the
distract
itch.
them with a little bit of food,
Right,
and
you
if you
distract
just
them.
gently pull at anything that's loose, there's a little bit on her fringe here, that's it.
And I'm not hurting them by doing
not
this
at all. She'll thank you for it, honestly.
Come on, oh,
There we
come
go.
on,
And
there
just
you
pop it in
go.
the trap.
As humans, we suffer eczema around about the elbows and behind the knees.
Where do these guys tend to get it?
They tend to get it all over. If there's a really big mass of a bit like that one, and it's kind of just a bit too close to the skin still, and then they're getting really, really hot. So we're just being preemptive.
Oh, right, okay, so this is preventative.
Yeah, a lot of the husbandry that we do out on the reserve is preventative medicine. So we're just getting in there before they get uncomfortable.
Where are these guys from originally?
These are the domesticated Bactrian camel, but they're endangered cousins, the wild Bactrian camel. They're from Mongolia, the deserts out there, so the Gobi Desert, that kind of area. So they obviously have extreme heat and extreme cold. So they are used to temperature variations. And in the wild, they will shed their coat in the warmer season.
Well, we've certainly got our work cut out here. Hello, gorgeous. But after we get all this hair off, these guys are going to look good as new and be itch-free. Hey, gorgeous.
Iggy the iguana is part of the furniture here in the park. I've known him for 19 years and he's had more than his fair share of health scares. But has the ageing iguana got what it takes to survive his latest battle? At the vet's, keeper Emily's handing over Iggy to small animal specialist Abby,
Hello, do you want to come on in?
who's facing a big challenge.
Iguana tail amputation is definitely a first for me. I've done it on a few dogs and cats, but never on an iguana, so that would be quite interesting.
It's a procedure laden with danger for this old lizard, reckoned to be at least 22 years old.
Anaesthetic death is the highest risk for the patient. And then I think post-operatively mainly is trying to get him round from the anaesthetic as quickly as we can.
Abby's got history with Iggy. She's operated on him before and knows the risks of dealing with this park veteran only too well.
He just took quite a long time to come round. He is quite an older patient, so that obviously adds an extra risk to any procedure with any of our patients. But we'll be obviously doing everything we can to monitor that.
It's a fine line getting the dosage of anaesthetic just right, especially in reptiles like Iggy, which have complex respiratory systems.
He looks pretty asleep already. He's still moving a little bit, so we'll probably give him another 5 minutes.
Administer too much, and it could be fatal. Too little, and Iggy won't go under enough for surgery.
So we're just going to mask him down with a bit of gas. He's gone pretty sleepy now, so that's good. So we'll give him another few seconds and then we'll try and tube him.
Finally, Iggy is safely under, and surgery can begin.
You can see the difference in the scales going along here. So this is kind of where the abnormal tissue starts, and the scales are a different colour there. So we'll need to amputate just above that area.
An X-ray helps Abby detect the perfect spot to make a clean cut and remove all the dead tissue.
You can see the abnormal part here. And what I'm hoping to be able to do is leave an open wound at the end, which will hopefully allow the tail to be able to regrow. Nicole's going to perform IPPV on Iggy Pop, which stands for intermittent positive pressure ventilation. So we have to do that in lizards because they're quite prone to apnea during anaesthetics. That means that they just stop breathing for themselves. So we're just going to breathe for him.
And that's not the only problem. As Iggy is cold-blooded, it's hard to regulate his temperature.
So his temperature's not reading on our thermometer at the moment, but I think they cut off at about 32 or 33.
If Iggy gets too cold, the anaesthetic will take longer to leave his body, and he may not wake up.
We need to just try and get his temperature up a little bit. We just turn the heat mat on underneath him to keep him nice and warm. Obviously, we don't want to overheat him either.
With Iggy's body temperature finally stabilised, Abby can begin the procedure.
Right, are you happy for me to start? You all right? Here we go. That went to plan, I think, kind of what we were expecting. So we've got rid of all the diseased bit of the tail. So hopefully now this bit will regrow and heal over.
But Iggy's biggest battle lies ahead. Will he come round from his op?
The longer it takes, the more worrying it's going to be. But I'm going to try and stick with the no news is good news. I'm okay. I'm feeling hopeful. Yeah, I'm sure he'll pull through. He seems to pull through everything, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be fine.
Earlier this summer, Longleat poster boy Handsome Harry was separated from his mother and aunt in an ambitious plan to anoint him as king of a brand new pride. It meant taking on 8 lionesses. 3 of them, known as the Mean Girls, gave him a tough time. They were determined to test his mettle. Blood was shed, but the keepers still hoped 6-year-old Harry had what it takes to fulfill his destiny in this Wiltshire jungle, just like he would in the wild. It's 10 weeks since he was introduced to all the girls, and today is the ultimate test of his prowess. I'm joining Caleb to see if Harry can control his feisty lionesses with the pride's very first carcass feed. Will the girls give him the runaround, or can he show them he's the boss?
Wow, that is a big breakfast, Caleb. Now, this is a bit of a first for Harry this morning, isn't it? Tell me what's going on.
So we're going to carcass feed Harry with the 8 girls. This gives Harry the opportunity to dictate who feeds around him and really control the whole pride dynamics like it would be in the wild. So we want to give Harry the opportunity to run this pride in the most natural way.
So as far as Harry is concerned, this is kind of a big test of his macho.
Yeah, it's a massive test for his character and his strength. He's very food motivated, he is very aggressive, very dominant, so I think he will be on the carcass. If he'll allow any females to feed with him, you know, I'm not even sure if he will at first, so that'll be a big test.
He has been bullied by 3 of them, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been bullied by the big 3. We've kind of worked on that and he gets along. They all love him now. All the girls love Harry, so...
Well, we better let them out. Right, Harry, breakfast is up.
Lock 4, lock 5, 3rd are on the way out. Here they come.
So girls out first.
Yeah, so we've got the girls and
Harry really racing.
He is really racing. He's more interested in the dash cam.
It's a good sign. Harry's checking for any threats to his girls before taking his place at the head of the table.
They're all in. Now the really big girls are coming in now.
The big girls are coming in. She's straight into the carcass as well. So this is all 7 plus Harry, and this is Pepper coming in. So this is all 8 in the carcass.
Wow.
And there's no
battles at all. It just seems really harmonious at the moment. Let's think about this as a wild situation. I mean, lions will go for a carcass if they find it, but they tend to kill their own.
Yeah.
Often, am I right that it's the females who will actually bring prey down?
Yeah, generally the females go off on a hunt. He would come in and generally chase the females off to get the lion's share of the kill.
Right.
Sort of his responsibility of protecting them from other males sort of comes at a cost of them feeding him.
Yeah.
They expected Harry to either be intimidated by the fact that there's so many lions on it, the lionesses, because they haven't been getting along very well, to just rip each other apart and just, you know, go for a free-for-all. But actually, they've currently all got their heads eaten.
They have. God, it's absolutely incredible to see it.
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive to put food in that effectively they're competing for. How would this help you kind of sort out pride dynamic, or indeed help Harry sort out
So
his
it gives
girls?
Harry the opportunity to control the whole situation. So he's the biggest and the strongest, so he can chase all the girls away if he chooses to, or in particular, if he doesn't like one, he can not let her feed.
Oh, now they've ripped it apart.
Yeah, Sweet Pea's managed to take the leg off.
Okay, so she's disappearing, going, no one's getting near this. She has literally disappeared into the bushes.
As the lionesses begin to dismember the carcass, the challenge hots up for Harry.
Oh,
Now putting his head in.
wow, he's going in. Oh, they're really
Yeah.
tussling now.
So now
the carcass has been
ripped
reduced and ripped up. Oh, now he's controlling them.
Yeah.
2 girls have come in and stolen it again.
So now
Listen
he's
to that
So that's
Who's
Betty.
that he's battling?
That's
with
Betty. She won't give up very easily. She's a very small lion, but she's got a big fight in her.
Look at him. I mean, he's got one piece of the carcass now, and he is literally hugging it.
Yeah.
And as soon as he turns away, in they come, but he chases it back, and he's not going to let that go, is he? It's his job. I mean, if he was too much for a pussycat, he's not going to impress anybody. He's not going to look after them.
Well, exactly. So initially, those 3 big girls just chased him around and beat him up because he wasn't strong enough. So this time round, he's got the food, he's come out there, and this is only going to impress the girls more, and they're going to love him even more. We've had to kind of almost watch Harry grow up in here and provide him with the opportunity to do it.
I have to say, you're looking like proud Uncle Caleb at the moment.
Yeah, I am very proud because I've watched all of these guys grow up, and in particular, Harry was born just after I started. So. And I've been sort of the biggest advocate of getting him with a pride of his own. And for a long time, we didn't think Harry was going to be capable. So today, I'm really impressed with how it's worked out for him personally, but also for the lionesses.
Because he's proved himself literally to be top of the lion tree, actually, the pride as a whole are much more harmonious because of it.
By putting a carcass in, you're forcing them all to communicate. And today, I learned that all 8 lionesses wanted to go and confront Harry around food, but also wanted to go and confront each other. They were all prepared to go and put their head on the line for food. He's heard a bit of squabbling going on.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, do you know what, I'm going to go and sort that out. And this is exactly what I hoped him to do.
So this sort of trial, if you like, today, has it proved once and for all that Harry is definitely king of his pride?
Yeah, it's proved that he's got authority, but it's also proved to me that we've got 8 queens in here as well who are capable of thinking for themselves and putting themselves on the line. So it's the perfect scenario. It's a healthy social group of lions.
Harry is, without question, king of the section.
Yeah, definitely. He's the boss.
They've been around for millions of years, share some talents with an elephant, and are thought to be related to rhinos. And if there's one thing Tallulah the tapir loves, it's water. Jean's off to find out more with keeper Christina.
What's going on here? Is this tapir bath time? Looks a bit small.
Definitely a little bit too small for a bath. No, we're going to replicate the wild eating. We're going to do some apple bobbing, if you'd like to take the apples.
Apple bobbing for a tapir?
Yep.
Explain that one to me, Christina.
Out in the wild, these guys are semi-aquatic,
of course,
which means they spend most of their time living in the water. And because they live in the water, they eat in the water as well. So anything they find in the water, they eat. And that's what we're going to replicate here. She's very eager.
Interested in these apples.
Shall we get some more water put in here and get going then?
Let's get some water in there. And she's got a fantastic snout, hasn't she? Tell me about that.
So her nose is semi-prehensile, which means it can grip onto things almost. It's a little bit like an elephant's trunk. So when they're in the water and foraging around the food, they'll use that nose to sort of pull in the plants to their mouth and use their great big teeth to chomp down and chew on it.
Right, let's get the apples in. Tallulah!
She definitely knows there's something there. She's just having a little sniff, trying to figure out where exactly it is.
They're over here.
There you go, she definitely knows they're in there now.
Yeah, I can actually hear her sniffing.
Yep, they have got a great sense of smell. So if you think they've got to try and smell underwater as well as above water.
Of course. And what kind of sort of water would they be in the wild?
They'd be out in like the rainforests of South America, so it's kind of a bit marshy, a bit open, a little bit of everything really. But they'll go and sort of eat with the reeds, they'll go in all the aquatic plants and everything like that. But not only do they eat, they also use water as a hiding mechanism. So their main predator out in South America is the jaguar. So if they think they're being threatened, they're going to run straight for the nearest body of water and just completely submerge themselves into that water, and that is instant safety for them.
And what's actually happening when our head is down there? How's that snorkel and snout being used?
So they have many adaptations just in that nose for living in the water. So when they're sort of half submerged, they can kind of stick it above the water take a nice breath in.
Almost like a snorkel.
A little bit like a snorkel, yeah. So in the water, they'll be going after the reeds, all the aquatic plants, but on the land, they'll also look for the trees that have dropped fruits and everything like that.
Oh, well, she's definitely enjoying this. I can hear her blowing bubbles
Yes.
as well, which is lovely. Go on, girl. Go on, Tallulah.
There we
Good
go.
Girl, good girl. Nice one, Christina. I think her apples made quite a splash.
Earlier, we saw the park's Rothschild giraffe released from their winter quarters. They're thought to be the world's most endangered giraffe, with less than 1,000 left in the wild. The herd has been at the helm of an international breeding program. Over the years, I've been lucky enough to meet some of the 120 calves that have been born here.
We've just been looking at your latest arrival. Oh, look, here he is. It's like, I want to steal the limelight.
These beautiful creatures were one of the first to arrive at the park soon after it opened in 1966. It was then the only place outside Africa where visitors could mingle with giraffe, an unforgettable experience at a time when safari holidays were even more exotic than they are today. And one giraffe, known as Mrs. B, was at the centre of it all. This supermum lived here between the 60s and the 80s and has left a remarkable legacy. I've come to meet head of Hoofstock, Ryan, to find out more about her extraordinary contribution to the survival of this species.
So, of the ones that are here today, how many are directly descended from the original Mrs. B?
I have here a list in front of me. So we currently have Reggie, Piper, Kate, Nora, Rudy and Mary.
My namesake.
Your namesake,
is
Kate.
Directly related to her.
Yes.
And what have her offspring been like as far as kind of character? Do you see a sort of common thread with the offspring?
Yeah, I do. Kate aside, who genuinely is an absolute dream to work with, Kate. The others, certainly not as friendly and as approachable. They still carry that little wild element that we could trace back to our original Mrs. B.
From what I understand, I mean, her family tree is enormous and has been spread kind of all over Europe and beyond.
Yeah, it's an astronomical family tree. Mrs. B has created over 400 descendants at one time or another that literally do spread across the world.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, as you can see, it sort of focuses on Europe here,
Yeah.
but of course we even have six
of them.
individuals in Indonesia.
Have there been any successful reintroductions into the wild, or has the wild situation been too perilous, actually, to reintroduce?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that, because they do get comfortable in a captive environment and therefore not know what to do in drought conditions, not know how to defend a calf from a pride alliance. Those life skills are very challenging for us to be able to teach them.
Absolutely, absolutely. It must be very satisfying to know that, you know, an animal has been able to tangibly, demonstrably do so much for the conservation of a species.
Yeah, they're highly strung, they do get stressed out, and I think while you're finding your way with how you should look after them, I think it's easy to make mistakes. Giraffes don't get over mistakes very easily. They're not very forgiving
Right.
animal. You know, they can be grudgy, but not blessed with much between the ears.
So, as you say, perhaps not a great deal between the ears, but what there is doesn't forget anything at all.
But hats off to good old Mrs. B for keeping her endangered, if slightly grouchy giraffe going strong.
It's been 2 hours since iguana Iggy Pop went under the knife, and Emily's on her way to collect him.
I'm not really sure how well he's woken up. Probably for the next few days or a week will still be a worry for me.
we're not out of the woods yet.
Emily's devoted to Iggy. Anne has looked after him since the day she arrived at the park 10 years ago. But as he gets older, she knows every trip to the vets could be the last.
Hello, do you want to come on through?
But today, Iggy's made it through yet again from the anaesthetic and lives to fight another day.
He's actually recovered really quickly, much quicker than last time, so that's really good. He has been out and basking in the heat lamp. Brilliant. Come on then, Iggy. Here we go.
I didn't realise quite how worried I would be. So yes, I will definitely sleep well tonight.
But the next few days are going to be critical for this old trooper.
Good to have him back.
Now he's home at the park.
Let's hope that he's absolutely fine. He just keeps going, I think. He's going to outlive everybody.
Let's hope Iggy can live up to his rock star namesake's indestructible reputation. But that could be a big ask for the park's illustrious but ageing legend.
Well, this is one old, impressive boy, Iggy. And Graham, you must be delighted that here he is, sitting out in the sunshine and complete recovery from the operation.
He's fighting on to live another day, really.
Just remind us how old you think he is.
Well, he was already an adult when he arrived to us, and according to our records, he's over 22 years old, but he could be up into his early 30s, really. So he's an impressive age for an animal that's really only expected to live up to about 20.
I mean, he's a real proper link with the past, isn't he?
He's outlived all of the ladies that lived with him. He used to have a group of 8 when I started, and he's the sole survivor now, but he gets spoilt now. He gets all the extra food himself. So.
And he's obviously missing a bit of his tail, which you had to take off.
Yeah.
Will that affect him?
No, not at all. I mean, if he was a young male in his prime, you know, we'd need every defence possible to hold on to the girls and fight off the other boys. But for him, you know, he's relaxing. He's in his retirement. He is what you see in front of you, really.
It's a bit like when we start losing our hair. There's hope for us all. Thank you, Graham.
No problem.
Well done, Iggy. And here's what's coming up on the next Animal Park.
Can the team get giant otter Innie under control?
Innie! She is so set in her ways.
In time for a reunion with her ex.
Jean finds out which creature's fingerprints have been confusing the cops.
I'm finding this one hard to believe, so let's do this.
Definitely.
And the whole park is on red alert.
Just seen a very large animal beyond the Creo paddock.
Something's out.